If you go around looking for what's wrong, you're going to find it.
Right.
If you go around looking for what are they doing right and emphasizing that, you're going to find it.
I know that military is a prep big time for, leadership and organization and strategy and all kind of stuff like that, man. And that was one of the things, all the wealth of knowledge that you have acquired over time with as far as strategy and all that stuff goes. And I think we were talking about it driving back earlier. What are some of those, go over some of those things?
Well, one is one we talked about at lunch of, we all have our lessons and we've all gone through things, and I'm looking back. I'm going to build on this or that, and sometimes we truly are more lucky than good, and we walk away with the wrong lessons. And I used to tell folks that all lessons are valid, but they're not all applicable, because sometimes you walk away with the wrong lessons, and just because you got away with it before, doesn't mean you got it right. Reinforcement of the basics of what mom and daddy tried to teach us and what we try to teach our kids. Like one of yours is, the golden rule of treat others as they're more important than us. Is that the
treat
others first
as yourself, others first?
How do we apply that? So I'm gonna go way back on the time machine, and before all Iraq and Afghanistan started. One of the things that my career field in the Army was, I was an infantry officer, and the infantry career field, to put it most simply, is kill people and break things. The job of the right. infantry is to close with and destroy the enemy by means of fire and maneuver, or by shooting at them and closing on them. Well, right. One of the things that we try to push infantry leaders to is there's a school in the Army called Ranger School. It's considered a combat arms school, and it focuses tactically wise on teaches you how to do raids, ambushes, and reconnaissance missions. Mm-hmm. But really what it's about is a 2-month school where you are deprived of sleep and food, and given a lot of ambiguity and rotated through leadership positions, and everybody strips off their ranks. So private to captain, you're all peers while you're in that course. And the first week of the course is aimed at nothing more than to get rid of those that have a bit of tiny heart syndrome. So there's physical fitness tests and obstacle courses, and you have to beat each other up at times, not where you're hurting somebody, but
right.
You're tired, and it's easy to feel sorry for yourself. And the point of the course is not to make you better at tactics or, teach you how to suffer. It's one of the most challenging things anywhere is to be far away from home, and you've got the folks to your left and right of you. And when you're on that mountain in Afghanistan, and you have 7.62 millimeter machine guns, and they have 14 millimeter machine guns, and you've got 60 millimeter mortars, and they've got 82 millimeter mortars, and you're feared, you're afraid every minute of that time. Well, if all you have to rely on is what I know and what I control, you're gonna fall apart. If you've been taught about yourself, and hey, when things are bad, when you don't feel good, you'll be all right. Because one, you can do more than you believe you can do if you just go by your own limits. Right. And two, that fella to the left or right of you, they're going to help carry you along the way if you're helping carry them along as well. Well, for that course, as an infantry officer, it's not, well, you should want to, it should be something that you want to do and go and earn, but right. You're expected to. It's, you finish your basic course, you're going to go to that course. If you say, it's a volunteer course, but you say, I don't want to go, really? Then why are you wearing those rifles? Because you are in the wrong career field, bud.
Right.
But as a lieutenant. I went that first time. I had, I think the good Lord was trying to teach me some things, because first time I went, got sick the start of the course. I had some kind of stomach virus or something, because first week of the course I lost 20 pounds, because in between all that running and doing obstacle courses, if I tried to eat anything, I was turning right around and spitting it right back up
Really?
the rough way.
Wow.
So I managed to make it. There's different. You start it in the woods in Fort Benning, Georgia, and then you go to the mountains in North Georgia, and then you finish off in the swamps in Florida. Well, made it halfway through the mountains, and out walking through the woods one day, I step in a creek, roll my ankle, and blow my ankle up, and the physician's assistant up there, they carried me out. He looks at me that evening and says, "Ooh, sucks to be you. Welcome to class," whatever the class behind me.
Did it start all over?
Oh, it's even better. He comes in the next day. He's like, "Oh, bud, you ain't gonna make it. You're not making the next class. I'm gonna medically drop you." So halfway through, out from there, on to Korea for assignment there for a year, and then from there I went to a airborne battalion in Alaska. And one of my goals is, because now I'm behind, because I'm missing a Ranger tab that, I deserve it. I owe it to myself and my soldiers to go earn. Mm-hmm. So I, meet the requirements up there, so that they'll send me back. And time to go back. I have one goal. One, this sucks, so I'm not doing this a third time. And two, I don't care what job I have. I don't care if, that day I'm the team leader for the lead team. I'm the platoon leader for the 40-man platoon. Mm-hmm. I'm the radio operator for that platoon. Whatever my job is that day, I'm going to do it as best I can. And the other thing is, I then not fat as I am today, but, bigger than most folks, just height and size wise.
Right.
That Teck's pretty big fella. I bet we can throw a few extra things in his rucksack. So,
Oh no.
Daily, I did my part to whatever the squad platoon equipment was, carry a little bit more. Whatever the job was, not do that job the way it ought to be done. But if I was my radio operator, if I was my team leader, if I was my squad leader, how would I want me to do it? That's how I need to do that job. So it's, and I made it through the back into that course. Not only was I able to graduate, but I was the distinguished honor graduate for my Ranger class. And every class has a honor graduate, but not every class has a distinguished honor graduate. And I'm not smart enough to tell you what the criteria are, but as an example, one of the things they use for that school is you have graded patrols where the evaluators would, based on whatever the criteria, pass or fail, and you had to be over a certain percentage to complete each phase and to graduate. Mm-hmm. And another tool they used was what's called a peer evaluation. So each of your squads, 8-10 folks of your peers that are going through the same course with you, right. At the end of each phase, you have to rate each other from 1 to 10. Well, if everybody in your squad rates you at 10, guess what? Step 1, you're going to recycle and go through that phase again. Step 2, you've now been peered twice. You suck. You're going home. You've now failed. Well, wow. Those peer ratings were one of the criteria for the distinguished undergraduate, and it used some sort of number systems, and I'm sure the instructors of that course could explain it. But yeah. When I completed the second phase, they'd give you an evaluation at the end and say, okay, you passed, you're going on in the next phase. Here's some highlights and lowlights of your progress. Right. Well, one of the range instructor giving me mine at the end of the second phase. Well, I see your peers' evals dropped slightly. You're only at 98%. I'm not sure what that means, but I'll take it.
Man, that is fantastic. That is fantastic. That's got to be a badge of honor for your own self, just because part of that is your peers evaluating you as well as your officer or your superiors.
Yeah, more so when, like I said, I started out halfway through before is anything with life. Most of us, we have our own, desires, aspirations. We always,
right.
I'm good. So right. when you have those setbacks and you fail or you have to redo, it's, hurts your pride. So
yeah,
yes, I made it. Don't have to do that one again.
Yeah.
But
that's wonderful, man.
Part of, my methodology or learning that was in Alaska. One of the many great folks that I've had work for me over the years was a guy named Brian Reed, who was my platoon sergeant. And I think earlier we were talking, and one of the progression things difficult to learn is when you go from I have 3 or 4 folks. You do this, you do this, you do this. It's easy to hands-on do this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you go from being sergeant to, in my case, being a lieutenant. Well, now I don't need to tell Private Smith how to do things. I need to tell Sergeant Jones what I need them to do. I used to give my lieutenants, when I was a company commander, I called it the West Point quiz, particularly for the West Pointers. Like, all right, here's your quiz. Every Sunday at West Point, they do ceremonial parade. An hour before the parade, the flagpole falls down. You've got a complete infantry squad. You've got the flagpole down. Lieutenant, what are you going to do about it? And most, well, I would, here's how I would solve the problem. I'd go through these steps. No, I'll tell you how you fix it. Sergeant, fix the flagpole.
That's good.
It's
tough to
seems
learn.
simple. Yeah, it is hard to learn. I'm gonna tell you how to do it. Oh.
Yeah.
And when we do learn that, it's like, well, yeah, that light's not bright enough in here. Can you fix the light? Well, if I tell you to change the light bulb, I'll get a working light. Hey, it's not bright enough in here.
Teach you how to think.
Well, and not only that, but I had a solution in mind, but what he came up with way better than I would have come up with.
Yeah, true.
Keep doing that.
True.
And then the next difficulty is, when you have a few leaders that you're directing with folks that you can still reach out and touch and, okay, I can see that they're on track.
Mm-hmm.
Is, okay, now you're not telling sergeant, but you're telling lieutenant or captain or, whatever supervisor, all right, now I've got to explain to you, I got to teach you intent and outcome.
Yep.
Culture. That's it. I don't have time. And if I tried to, I'd get it wrong anyway.
Yep. To
tell you how to do things.
Right.
But if I can get you to understand what's important, why we're trying to do these things,
mm-hmm.
then you, for your sergeants and your subordinate leaders, are going to keep them on track, and you're going to influence them to do those things, not by directing, but by guiding. But that platoon sergeant, Brian Reed, he was really good at not only leading, but teaching leaders. So organization within a infantry platoon, you've got a lieutenant that's responsible for those 40 folks. He's got a senior enlisted guy, a sergeant first class, who's like the second in command of that 40-man element.
Okay.
And then you've got 4 squads, 4 9-man squads that has a squad leader. Each squad leader has 2 team leaders. 2 team leaders have their 3 soldiers. So they're I've got these 3 folks that I can keep the pulse of and direct. These 2 have their squad leader. And if he's doing it right, he's not telling these soldiers what to do. He tells his 2 team leaders. Well, Brian Reed, he would focus on these team leaders. He said, okay, sir, you focus on the squad leaders. You guide them, you keep them on track. Y'all do the planning. I'll focus on the team leaders so that they get the soldiers right. So he would do things like, all right, they respect what you inspect.
Yep.
these are expectations. These are the standards. This is what I expect. All right, team leaders, let me see how you're doing. Let's go look at your soldiers. Well, he didn't go look at the soldiers. He said, I'm going to look at you. I'm going to see how you met the standard that I expect you to hold your soldiers to. You don't make it? Guess what? 20 minutes. Go get your PT gear on because I'm going to wear your tails out because you're not doing it right.
Right.
Soon the team leaders learn, okay, I don't want to get scuffed up. I'm going to get my part right, and I'm going to use what Brian Reed taught me to make sure my soldiers got it right. So, well, you know, that methodology I learned from him, and two, the way he did things. Man, if I was my platoon sergeant, I want to do it like Brian does it for me.
Right.
That's what I owe up and down. If I'm the boss, I owe them things. I need to make sure that I am putting into them what I expect them to put into me.
That's right.
Same thing looking up. You know, there's always things that we disagree with, but boss wants me to do this. Well, I think I have a better way. So I owe it to the boss to say, hey, you told me we have to do this. How about we look at this?
Yep.
No, Junior, there's things you don't understand. You need to do it this way. Okay, I did what I owe. I'm going to trust that leader's judgment.
Right.
If it's not immoral, illegal, or unethical.
Right. You got to get those.
Yeah.
Right.
But barring that, I don't have to like it. I'm going to trust their judgment.
Yeah.
They've earned their position, you know.
And now you can go all in.
I can go do what they want me to do, and I don't go into it with, hey, we're going to do this because so-and-so said that this is what we have to do. Well, I've just destroyed the credibility, their credibility, and my authority for what we're trying to do.
Absolutely.
Because we're not doing this because it's the right thing. It's because we have to.
Yep. Yeah. Break down the breakdown again. All right. So there's in each one of those a 40-man unit. There's 4 groups of 10.
There's
9.
There's the headquarters, the two guys at the top, and then there are 4 different elements. So there's a squad leader, 4 of those, 4 different squads
of 10, and the squad leader's over 9 other people.
Well, one of 9. Squad leader's got 9. 2 4-man teams. Okay. So 2-man headquarters, 4 subordinate leaders. Each of those squad leaders, subordinate leaders, has 2 team leaders. Each team leader has 3 of their own soldiers.
Gotcha. So the most you're ever directly responsible for is you and 3 other people.
Yeah, that's the Army's learned over time is that the magic number is 3 to 5. You can directly control and influence 3 to 5 folks. You go wider than that, you're just wishing for things to happen because you don't have that influence and control. Right. And it's built.
And this is hundreds of years of experimentation and study, and this is the best way to do it. Yeah, it's amazing how that translates. All these the way the best leadership in the military is also the best leadership in any organization, for any structure, business, and just us learning over time in our business, from going from a single and everybody's off of me to now then developing a team. Had I known this way long ago,
it would have made it easier.
Oh, it made it a lot easier. Well, first I had to get it through my thick head, that was the best way to do it. But it would have made it a ton easier if I could have learned that.
I think particularly as men, because we tend to be hard heads.
Yeah.
We all go through, I know better. No, I don't.
No, you don't. No, you don't. There's 100 years and countless others that have already done it that if you just pay attention, you can learn a lot.
Yeah, but
and that's what I'm doing from you, man. I appreciate it. Well, that's awesome.
I appreciate you. I sent you a list of possible topics.
Yes. Man, you just blew me away. Whenever I received that, I was like, whoa, man, this guy is, and I'm just sitting over here going, hey, we're just, hanging out. But that was pretty awesome.
As I grew, I used it in my last job in the Army. I used it when I worked at the University of Alabama. The things that I, had learned, these things work. These are the things that matter.
Yeah.
I would sit down as I'd get folks on board and say, okay, just so you know, this is what I think is important. These are the things that I think work and why. Mm-hmm. And some of it's intuitive, like the treat people like they matter because they do.
Yeah.
Some of it's not intuitive, like the one of the things I'm a believer in is if something's important, and this gets back to culture, say it again and again and again and again. Yep. And the first time I heard that, it's like, well, what do we think people are stupid? We got to keep saying it. Well, yeah. If it's important, then we will habitually emphasize it.
Yeah.
And when we do so,
yeah.
One, organizations tend to take on the personality of the leader.
Bingo.
So if they're the hammer, always going around looking for a nail,
yep.
that tends to have an effect of, well, the folks that work for them, they start going around, you screwed up, which is yep. another thing. If you go around looking for what's wrong, you're going to find it.
Right.
If you go around looking for what are they doing right and emphasizing that,
yep.
you're going to find it.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that,
yep.
hey, you're parked in our handicapped space. You go move your car.
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't mean we have to accept those things, but
exactly.
You can do something about it without being that hammer.
Yeah. I find it with my kids too. Same type thing.
And that's probably one of my continual self improvements and things that hey, you need to do better. I find that I've often had less patience and done things more wrong with the family than elsewhere. And it's like, they matter.
Yeah, I know it, man. Is that not, that's amazing how that happens though. But those are the people that you, I don't know, maybe it's that they just get to see the real me. My family actually gets to see the real me, the raw me, the part that's not
shields up,
wheeled. Yeah. That's tough, but to get that right is huge. If not look for what's wrong with what's going on, but what's right, and then correct what's wrong, but look for what's right.
Yeah. From one of my folks that I work Kairos prison ministry with, he had a great way to put it. He was talking in terms of sharing the gospel, and his point when he was talking to the men as white, or the prisoners as we'd call them men in white because that's what they wear.
Right.
He's like, folks say, well, I don't really have an opportunity to share my witness. He's like, I bet it's not so much you don't have the opportunity as you're just not attuned to and looking for it. And I'll give you an example. He says, my last vehicle was a Dodge pickup truck. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. So before I bought it, I decided what I wanted. I hadn't gone to pick one out yet. But after I decided, I was amazed at how often I'd see one. Yeah. Tired on the road. There's one. You know why? Because I decided I was going to look for it, and I was paying attention to it, and I was attuned for it. It's the same thing.
Yep.
If you're looking for it, you're going to find it.
Yep.
So pick your focus, because that's what you're going to gravitate to.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's cool. That's good stuff. And that brings up, when you say that about the prison ministry, that's something you and I both have in common. But, how, I don't really know how to pose the question, but, or if this is more of a statement, where you told me that I was asking you about how does being in combat, afraid to be, or fearful of being killed and willing to kill. How do you get
how do you get over that? How do you get past that?
Yeah.
I'll give you the important part, and then I'll give you the kind of the tactical part. And the important part, and as we were discussing this is something I try to share with those men in white inside the prison is we have all done things. We've all failed, and in my case, the simple way to put it is I've seen things I can't unsee and done things I can't undo.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll give you a story that, scar tissue story. So last trip to Afghanistan, when we're, by day doing, or by night doing raids to capture folks, and by day looking for Abu X, who's, not worth capturing because he's trying to kill Americans or Afghans and he's causing problems. But if we capture him, he's not going to really lead to anything. So let's just remove him from the earth. Well, one of those folks that we're tracking around by day and looking for an opportunity to away from buildings and away from people to shoot. He gets off his moped and he meets up with some other men, and he's walking somewhere in the woods. And so we have a Predator, one of the big unmanned airplanes with missiles on it, and the pilot sitting back in Las Vegas, wherever he is, says,
right,
rifle, missile away. So now we're able to see as the cameras, the missiles coming in, and all of a sudden he's about to hit a break in the woods, and there's some other folks around him. Well, they're hanging out with him. You are who you hang out with. So I don't care about them either. Well, about this time, based on the angle, it's not just heads. It's, hey, there's some different heights there. So he comes back out, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, those aren't other men. Those are some, male children. About that time, boom, gone. Bodies scattered. Still have the visual.
Yep.
In runs this woman. One of the kids grabs at her. Our assumption was that was his wife, and she was running to scoop him up. And
right.
Kid's reaching at her. She's dragging him off. Well, I didn't fire the missile, right, but I was part of hurting kids that day.
Yeah.
It's similarly the first time we were in Iraq, had gunfights inside of the city of Baghdad. That's bigger than Houston. You're shooting. Those bullets don't just magically stop. They're going somewhere. Right. Every battalion in my brigade, my company had incidents where there was, not because it was ill will or civilians get killed. You go home with those things, but that's the framing of to say that, I've done things and I've carried things that, the
average American doesn't.
Biblical description of Satan came to kill, steal, kill, and destroy. Well, that was me in certain places at certain parts of time. Yeah. So I've got plenty to be forgiven for, and I've done nothing to rectify and make those things right, and I can't. But we all have the same opportunity. We all have Christ, who was sent, did better than any of us, had all the same temptations and then some, lived his right life, or his life right, and then sacrificed it to pay for the things we've done. So I don't have to forgive myself or fix that, because it was done for me. It could never be done by me, but it was done for me. Now I just have to say, thank you, Lord. I'm going to accept that because I can't do it anyway.
Right.
And you've already paid the price. It's just up to me to say thank you and move on and try to do my part to be more like the man you want me to be, not the man I choose to be. And then the practical side, you'd ask about the PTSD, and one of my folks was able to go to a trauma center that was specialized in traumatic brain injury and trying to help soldiers for how do you get the back end of that. And one of the things he provided, talking to me, was like, all right, here's one of the things I learned is you've got this scale of 1 to 10 of alertness that we're all at. When we're sleeping, we're down around 0 or 1. We're watching the Iron Bowl and Auburn's whipping Bama, and I'm in the quarter crying.
Right.
We're up towards that 7, 8, 9, and we tend to vary throughout the day based on what's going on, what we're doing. Somebody at work gets us fired up, we start fussing, so we escalate and calm back down. Well, the PTSD, your scale resets. So now when I'm relaxed, nothing's going on, I'm not at 0, I'm at 5. So now we all have our own natural tendencies of fight or flight. Well, if I'm starting at a 5 and somebody runs into me, well, what would normally be, it's all right. All of a sudden I'm acting ridiculous because I started at a 5 instead of a 0.
Yeah.
And I'm overreacting. And, so the first piece of accepting that it's been fixed for you. You don't have to fix it.
Right.
Because you're forgiven if you accept it.
Yeah.
And 2, you understand, okay, my calibration's off. I just need to understand that and chill out.
Yeah. Well, how do you recalibrate that? I mean, how do you?
Back to the first part of, I can't fix it. It's been fixed for me. Once I accept that, now I'm no longer hanging out at 5. I'm back at it 1 or 2.
Yeah. So what are you doing now? I mean, I want to make sure we get this on there, I mean, now then you're, after you retired, you went from there to
4 years of working at university and working with some people. Well, I had some great folks there, but I had a small, quantity that I didn't appreciate, was happy to be away from. And 2, I enjoyed the folks I worked with. I enjoyed most of what I did, but there's an aspect that I didn't enjoy, wanted to get away from. Started looking at opportunities to get into business and do something on my own, and found an opportunity to set up my own business and work with partner companies to help other businesses. And the thing that I enjoy most of that is the expense reduction, and working with a company that comes in and says, we're going to help fix problems for you. You tell us all your expenses, not your payroll, not your lease or mortgage, everything else we want to help bring down. You let us do so. Give us a 12-month general ledger. We'll figure out where you're getting overcharged, because we've got this 800-pound gorilla of 10 trillion in expenses across 10 million companies, and we know how much you're overpaying for what. The example I gave is a company that had just finished renegotiating their Verizon rate, got it down 20%.
Yeah.
In comes this company, says we can do better. And for this company, they say, well, we've got identified 37 different lines of expenses that we can help reduce. Mm-hmm. If you let us do so, we'll take on the negotiations. We'll contact your vendors. We'll get that fixed for you. They contacted Verizon and got that bill down another 19%, mm-hmm. and then saved the company $135,000 total. And then in between,
that's crazy.
Keep a pulse on their bills, and Verizon 2 months from now adds a charge that ought not be there. They contact Verizon. Hey, client, just so you know, you were overcharged this. You'll see a credit on your next bill. Oh, by the way, hey, your Zoom contract is about to renew next month, and it's going to jump up 20%. If you're okay with it, we're going to contact them and get this fixed. And oh, by the way, back up a step of those 37 items. My insurance agent is cousin Joe. He may be overcharging a little bit, but he's my wife's brother, so let's leave that alone. It's okay. So we have 36 items for you that we can help with, because we're going to leave cousin Joe off the table. Right.
So you come into a company, and your company is called
Biz Fortis.
So, and they would just print out you a general ledger for a year. You would take it and plug it into your database of trillions of dollars and this fancy AI, and it would squirt out, hey, we can save you on these 35, 37 areas of your business, and just lay them out there and give you a percentage or a dollar amounts or what they think, or how's it?
As savings is achieved. So that Verizon bill, when it's reduced from,
once it's renegotiated,
not negotiated, but it's reflected on the bill. So this month it was $200. Next month it's fixed. Now it's $100. Now we're going to bill you based off that savings, because
So you only get paid if you save money for the business.
Yep.
No upfront deal, none of that stuff.
No savings, no bill. In fact, my partner company, they have their own internal joke of, we'll spend $5 to save the client too, and part of that's there's bigger margins on some of that than others. So they could, they could become more profitable if they just focused on insurance and telecom and credit card processing, because those things have more fluff and more room to save.
Sure.
There's some other areas where, we can save you $2 on your internet service, or your ink delivery service for your printers. Well, they're not really getting much off of that, but they want to make themselves invested in the companies that they're doing business with.
Yeah.
We don't just want to have you on our list. We want to keep you. We want you to work with us this year, next year, and the next, and particularly for folks like you and I, that we're a small group of folks. There's businesses that are solopreneurs of one person or a few dozen.
Right.
I want to focus on what I'm in business for. I don't want to haggle with the Verizon bill again. If you're going to help me save money and save time,
that's a win-win.
You keep doing that, I'll keep working with you.
Right.
You stop doing that, I'll cut you away, and I'll go back to doing it on my own.
That is cool that they don't just come in and suck out. You don't just come in and suck out the fluff, like you said, insurance and half a dozen probably, bloated things that are bloated, but that you would actually spend the time to provide a good service across the board, even if it diminished your actual return.
Yeah,
for doing the other stuff. That's awesome.
Well, that gets back to one of your core values. It's I want to work with folks that treat folks the way I want to be treated.
Yeah. And for winning the award on your peer. What was it called? The one given by your peers?
Peer rating for distinguished undergraduate.
Distinguished undergraduate. Yeah. Same type deal. It carries over, doesn't it? Where can everybody find you online? Coming through here.
You can look up Biz Fortis, BizFortis. I'll jump up in a Google search, or if you're on the LinkedIn world, Bret, Bret Tecklenburg, Tecklenburg, but Bret and Teck will probably get you there.
Right.
I don't think, other than my household, there's other Tecklenburgs in the state of Alabama, and there ain't a whole lot of us in the country, but LinkedIn, you can see more there, or you can go to my website, and I'm happy to talk to folks. And if nothing else, what I try to tell folks when I do talk to them is, if nothing else, if you can give up 15 minutes to hear about how we do things, and then if you're willing to give up that 12-month general ledger, if you're sensitive to it, we'll give you a non-disclosure agreement.
Oh, that's cool.
So that we're not sharing anything we ought, but 2 to 3 weeks after that, we can give you a competitive analysis. So you don't have to do anything with it, but at least you know what you're overpaid and how much you're overpaying. Yeah. You don't want to, if you just want to keep that and use that for your own competitive advantage, however you choose to.
Right.
It costs you $0. It does cost you a little bit of time, because you got to have those two conversations and provide the GL. So I won't say it's free, because time is a cost.
Yeah.
But at least you know more. You're better informed, and if you want to do more, then happy to help.
Right. That's awesome, man. Well, dude, I appreciate it. I mean, I can't thank you enough for coming down and hanging out with me and actually agreeing to, share a bunch of good stuff on leadership and on all your experiences, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you as a man, and I thank you for your service to this country.
Well, I appreciate you, and like I told you earlier, it's my honor to come flap my gums and spend some time with you, because I'm telling you, often I'm like, I need a pickup. What's Tommy got out there today? Tommy's on it.
I appreciate it.
It helps put things in perspective, and like I tell my boys once in a while when I'm trying to get your mind right.
Yeah, that's right. Get your mind right. Well,
thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you.